Hello and welcome to another complete Cambridge IGCSE Biology lesson. In this one we'll be breaking down paper 21, one of the extended multiple choice papers from the 2023 May-June exam series. Before we begin, I have a couple of things to mention. Number one, I'll be moving quite quickly through the upcoming questions, so I recommend you pause the video and take your time to read and answer each one before pressing play and revealing the answers. Number two, to get an A star in IGCSE Biology, you need to score approximately 80% overall. So if you're going to be attempting this paper with me, the magic number is 32 out of 40 or 34 out of 40 if you really want to be safe. That said, scoring 100% on the multiple choice is a genuine possibility and is what I encourage all of you to aspire to. Number three, if you struggle to understand a particular question, take note of the topic reference, which I'll put beside each question, then head over to my channel page and watch the corresponding content video. Each video is only around 5 minutes long and contains absolutely everything you need to know. Number four, my complete teaching and learning resource is now available. The bundle includes 21 PowerPoints and 21 past questions documents, that's one per chapter, and contains absolutely everything you need to teach or study the course from start to finish. Finally, it would be greatly appreciated if you take a moment to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Okay, let's begin. Question number one, what are the characteristics of all organisms? Now, as I've indicated here, this question featured in both core and extended papers, so is relevant for all students. It also pertains to topic 1.1. So again, if you don't understand the question, head over to my channel page and watch the relevant video. So the characteristics of all organisms are movement, respiration, sensitivity, growth, reproduction, excretion, and nutrition. So the correct answer here is C. Question number two. The scientific name for the golden eagle is Aquila chrysaetos. What is the genus of the golden eagle? So scientific names are made up of two parts, the genus and the species. The genus always comes first and has a capital letter, so the correct answer here is A. Number three, which row shows structures that are present in both root hair cells and palisade mesophyll cells? So root hair cells and palisade mesophyll cells are both plant cells and therefore have a cell wall, cytoplasm and vacuole. Chloroplasts, which are involved in photosynthesis, are not found in root hair cells as these cells are under the ground and receive no light. The correct answer is therefore C. Question 4. The photomicrograph shows a plant cell. The length of line XY is 90 millimeters. The actual length of the cell is 30 micrometers. What is the magnification of the photomicrograph? Okay, so the first thing we need to do here is convert one of our measurements so that we have the same units for both. Since there are 1000 micrometers in a millimeter, we can multiply 90 by 1000, giving us 90,000 micrometers for the length of line XY. Now we simply enter these values into the equation for calculating magnification, which is magnification equals image length divided by actual length. So magnification is 90,000 divided by 30, which is 3000, so the correct answer is B. Number 5. The diagram shows an experiment demonstrating osmosis using a dialysis tubing bag. After 30 minutes, the level of the liquid in the glass tube goes either up or down because the water had either a higher or lower water potential than the sugar solution. Which words correctly complete the statement? Okay, so water has a higher water potential than sugar solution because there's a greater proportion of free water molecules. Water molecules move by osmosis from regions of higher to lower water potential. So in this experiment, there will be a net movement into the dialysis tubing bag. This will of course cause the level in the glass tube to go up. So missing word 1 is up and missing word 2 is higher. So the answer we're looking for here is D. Number 6. The diagram shows the movement of glucose molecules across a cell membrane. Which statement describes molecule T? So molecule T is a protein carrier molecule which actively transports molecules across cell membranes. The molecules here are being transported from a region of low concentration above the membrane to a region of high concentration, that is, against a concentration gradient. The correct answer is therefore D. Number 7. The diagram shows part of a protein molecule. What does X represent? So proteins are made of long chains of repeating subunits called amino acids. So the correct answer for this one is A. Question 8. The structure of DNA involves two strands coiled together to form a double helix. Which pairing of bases between the two strands is correct? So the two strands of DNA are held together by bonds between pairs of bases, and the bases always pair up in the same way. A pairs with T and C pairs with G. So the correct answer here is B. Number 9. What is true of all enzymes? The first statement here is that they are sugars, which is not true because they are proteins. So that narrows it down to either C or D. The other statement is that they are most effective at pH 7. Now, although many enzymes are most effective at pH 7, not all are. For example, pepsin, which breaks down protein in the stomach, functions best at around pH 2. So both of these statements are incorrect, meaning the answer we're looking for is D. Number 10. Which statement about human enzymes is correct when they're at temperatures above 80 degrees C? So human enzymes function best at around 37 degrees and start to denature as temperatures exceed 40 degrees. The correct answer is therefore A. The molecules are denatured. Number 11. The experiment is set up to investigate gas exchange in aquatic plants. The hydrogen carbonate indicator solution is orange at the start. Which colour is it after 3 hours? So in the diagram, the aquatic plant is exposed to light and is therefore photosynthesizing. Photosynthesis uses up carbon dioxide, which means the concentration of carbon dioxide in the solution is decreasing. As we learned in topic 6.1, hydrogen carbonate indicator solution turns yellow as carbon dioxide increases and purple as carbon dioxide decreases. So the correct answer here is C. Number 12. Certain factors are needed for photosynthesis. If a factor is in short supply, it limits the rate of photosynthesis. Which of these could be limiting factors? So carbon dioxide and light are both needed for photosynthesis, whereas oxygen is not, as it's a byproduct of the process. The potential limiting factors are therefore 1 and 3, so the correct answer is B. Number 13. The hemoglobin concentration in the blood of a person is 80 grams per decimeter cubed. The accepted normal concentration is 120 grams per decimeter cubed or above. So this person has lower than normal hemoglobin levels. Which substance may be lacking in their diet? So in topic 7.1 we learned that iron is needed to form hemoglobin. So the answer we're looking for is D. Question 14. Which statement about physical digestion is correct? So physical digestion is the breakdown of food into smaller pieces without chemical change to the food molecules. The purpose of physical digestion is to increase the surface area of food for the action of enzymes in chemical digestion. So the correct answer is A. Number 15. Which statement describes the effect of atmospheric humidity on rate of transpiration? The correct answer here is C. In low humidity, the transpiration rate is high because there is rapid diffusion of water vapor through stomata. This is because in low humidity there's a greater difference in the concentration of water molecules between the air spaces inside the leaf and the air outside the leaf. And the steeper the concentration gradient, the faster the rate of diffusion. Number 16. Sucrose and amino acids move around a plant from sources to sinks, and this takes place in the phloem and is referred to as translocation. Which row shows the sources and sinks? So sources are parts of plants that release sucrose or amino acids, while sinks are the parts of plants that use or store sucrose or amino acids. So root cortex cells can be either a source or a sink. In the summer, when the plant is photosynthesizing, excess sucrose is stored in the roots as starch. In the winter, when light intensity decreases, some of this starch is broken down and released. Xylem vessels are neither a source or sink as they transport water and ions, and palisade mesophyll cells are a source as their role is to produce glucose by photosynthesis. The correct answer is therefore A. Question 17. Which statements describe how the structures in the circulatory system function? So the first statement is a muscular pump to push blood into vessels, so that one is correct. The heart is the muscular pump. The second is valves to ensure one-way flow of blood. That one's also correct. Veins and the heart itself contain valves which prevent backflow. The third statement is veins to take blood away from the heart. This one is incorrect because arteries carry blood away from the heart. Veins return blood to the heart. And then the final statement is vessels to return blood to the heart, which is also correct. So the correct answers are 1, 2, and 4, so the answer we're looking for is B. Question 18. The diagram shows a section through the heart. Which part is the septum? So the septum is a muscular wall that separates the two sides of the heart. It prevents oxygenated blood on the left side from mixing with deoxygenated blood on the right. So the correct answer here is C. Number 19. The cholera bacterium toxin causes dehydration and loss of salts from the blood in humans. Which statement explains the reason for this? So the cholera bacterium produces a toxin that causes chloride ions to be secreted into the small intestine. This causes water to move into the gut by osmosis, which leads to diarrhea, dehydration, and loss of ions from the blood. The correct answer is therefore B. Number 20. During inspiration or breathing in, the processes listed take place. Which is the correct sequence for these processes? So firstly, the external intercostal muscles contract, which causes the ribs to move upwards and outwards, and at the same time the diaphragm moves down. This increases the volume of the thoracic cavity, or thorax, which decreases pressure in the thorax, causing air to rush into the lungs. So we have S, T, P, R, and Q. So the correct answer is B. Number 21. In the chemical equation for anaerobic respiration in yeast, the numbers have been replaced by the letters W, X, Y, and Z. Which number is Z? So you need to know the balanced chemical equations for both aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration in yeast. For anaerobic respiration in yeast, the equation is C6H12O6, that's glucose, forms 2 C2H5OH, 2 ethanol or alcohol molecules, and 2 CO2. So Z has replaced the number 5, so the correct answer is B. Number 22. A student measured their oxygen consumption before, during, and after exercise, and the results are shown in the graph. At which time is oxygen debt being removed? So oxygen debt is caused by a build-up of lactic acid during vigorous exercise and is removed after exercise as the lactic acid is broken down by aerobic respiration in the liver. So the removal of oxygen debt begins immediately after exercise at 15 minutes and continues until oxygen consumption has returned to baseline at 20 minutes. So the correct answer is C. Number 23. Which row shows where glucose will be found in the body of a healthy human after eating a meal? So the table includes 5 of the structures of a kidney. The renal artery, which supplies blood to the kidney, the renal vein, which carries blood away from the kidney, a glomerulus, in which water, glucose, urea, and ions are filtered from the blood, a nephron, from which all the glucose, as well as some of the ions and most of the water, are reabsorbed back into the blood, and a ureter, which directs urine to the bladder. Now, since all the glucose is reabsorbed back into the blood and none is excreted, the only structure here where glucose will not be found is the ureter. Number 24. The events listed involve neurotransmitter molecules at a synapse. What is the sequence of events that occur when an impulse arrives at a synapse? So a synapse is a junction between two neurons. When an impulse arrives at a synapse, neurotransmitter molecules are released from membrane-bound structures called vesicles. The neurotransmitters enter the synaptic gap, then diffuse across the gap, and finally bind with receptor proteins on the other side, stimulating a new impulse in the postsynaptic neuron. Number 25. What occurs during accommodation to focus on distant objects? So when focusing on distant objects, the ciliary muscle relaxes and widens, putting tension on the suspensory ligaments, which pull on the lens and make it thinner. So the correct answer here is B. 26. What is a correct statement about auxin in shoots? A. It is only made on the shaded side of the shoot. This is wrong as it's made in the shoot tip. B. It's more concentrated on the side of the shoot that receives the most light. This is also wrong. In fact, the opposite is true. It's more concentrated on the side that receives the least light. C. It moves through the shoot by osmosis. Wrong again, as it moves through the shoot by diffusion. And D. It stimulates cell elongation. This is the only correct statement. Because it stimulates cell elongation, the cells on the shaded side of the shoot where auxin is more concentrated will grow more, causing the shoot to bend towards the light source. And this is of course referred to as phototropism. Number 27. What is a correct statement about antibiotics? So antibiotics are a class of drugs used to treat bacterial infections, not viruses. So the correct answer has to be either A or B. In fact, it's B. Bacteria may become resistant to antibiotics as a result of natural selection. Number 28. Potatoes are stem tubers. A tuber can be placed in the ground to grow into another plant, which can grow many more tubers. The diploid number of a potato plant is 24. How many chromosomes will there be in the cells of the stem, the leaf, and the pollen? Okay, for this one, you need to know that a diploid cell contains 2 sets of chromosomes, and that haploid cells contain 1 set, so half the number, in this case 12. Normal plant or animal cells, like those of the stem and leaf, are diploid, so will contain 24 chromosomes, but gametes or sex cells are haploid, so the pollen will contain 12 chromosomes, half the number. The correct answer is therefore A. Question 29. Which row about asexual reproduction is correct? So asexual reproduction is a process resulting in the production of genetically identical offspring from one parent. So one parent and offspring will be identical to the parent as well as each other. So the correct answer here is B. Question 30. The statements describe how a protein is made. What is the order of statements that describes how a protein is made? So firstly, the gene coding for the protein is copied in the nucleus. mRNA molecules then carry a copy of the gene into the cytoplasm. The mRNA then passes through a ribosome, which assembles amino acids into proteins. So the correct answer is D, 3, 2, 1, 4. Question 31. Which parents could produce offspring with blood group O? So to answer this one, you need to know that blood groups A and B are codominant and that blood group O is recessive. The answer is A. Heterozygous father with blood group A and heterozygous mother with blood group B. Because both parents are heterozygous, meaning they each have 2 different alleles for blood group, they could both theoretically possess and pass on the allele for blood group O to their offspring. Now, if you're not sure what I'm talking about here, I recommend you go and watch my video on monohybrid inheritance, because questions like these tend to come up quite often. Number 32. The diagram shows the inheritance of albinism in one family. Albinism is an inherited condition caused by a recessive allele. Which individuals must be heterozygous for this condition? So in other words, which individuals are carriers of the albinism allele? Because the allele is recessive, for someone to be affected by the condition, both of their parents must pass on the allele. This tells us that persons 5 and 6 are both heterozygous. Equally, if someone has the condition, they are homozygous and are therefore guaranteed to pass on the albinism allele to their offspring. So person 7 in this pedigree diagram is also heterozygous. Number 33. Which term is a genetic change? And the correct answer here is C, mutation. Question 34. Which adaptation may be present in a xerophyte? So xerophytes are plants that are adapted to survive in dry environments like deserts. The correct statement here is statement C, stomatal hairs and rolled leaves. Stomatal hairs and rolled leaves help to hold humid air around the stomata, reducing the rate at which water vapor diffuses out of the leaves. Question 35. The diagram shows energy flow from the sun through a food chain and into the environment. What is the form of energy for each number? numbered arrow. So the options for arrow number 1 are heat and light, and the answer here is light. Light energy from the sun is used to produce chemical energy in the plant by photosynthesis. Now, some of this chemical energy is then passed along food chains from plants to animals and then to other animals at higher trophic levels. So arrow number 2 represents chemical energy. Question number 36. A few yeast cells were placed in a container of nutrient solution. The graph shows how their population size changed over time. So this is the sigmoid curve of population growth. Which row shows when the reproduction rate was greater than the death rate for the numbered phases on the graph? So when rate of reproduction exceeds death rate, there will be an increase in population. So the question is basically just asking during which phases on the graph is the population growing. So that's phase 1 and 2, so the correct answer is B. Number 37. The number of Atlantic bluefin tuna fish found in the Atlantic Ocean has significantly decreased in the last 50 years, and this would be due to overfishing. Which method would make the biggest improvement in the conservation of tuna fish stocks? So decreasing the size of holes in fishing nets makes no sense, as that would allow fewer juvenile fish to escape. Genetic modification and selective breeding of tuna have nothing to do with the rate at which they're being fished. So the correct answer is introducing fishing quotas, which place restrictions on the number and size of tuna that a particular fishing operation is allowed to catch. Number 38. The bloodworm is an organism that's found in heavily polluted water. The diagram shows where raw sewage flows into a river. Where would there be fewest bloodworms? So the answer to this one is quite clearly A, as it's the part of the river that comes before the input of raw sewage. Number 39. The diagram shows a bacterial cell. Which part is useful in genetic modification? So bacteria are useful in genetic modification for several reasons, including their rapid reproduction rate, ability to make complex molecules, and there being few ethical concerns over their manipulation and growth. They also have plasmids, indicated by the letter D, which can be cut open and genes from other organisms inserted. Okay, final question, question number 40. Which statement about genetic modification is correct? So genetic modification can be described as changing the genetic material of an organism by removing, changing, or inserting individual genes. So the correct answer here is C. It produces a new combination of genes. Okay, that's it for paper 21 from the 2023 May-June exam series. Very well done if you followed me all the way to the end. Remember to leave a thumbs up if you benefited from this video and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to be notified when I upload the next one.